my friends, and welcome back to another edition of Prime Sports World. I'm your coach, your host, David On Point. I'm right there, my coach, Mr. TJ Hopkins. And on today's episode of the Prime, we're going to be breaking down the upstart Detroit Lions as they come off their first division crown. I think in like 20 years or something crazy like that. Went to the NFC Championship game. First time probably in most of our lifetimes, most of our audience's lifetimes. If you're, I think it was in the 60s or something, they went to the championship the last time. But thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Happy Thursday, TJ. Happy Friday, Junior, as I sometimes like to call it.
Yeah.
And thank you to my Aunt Judy, as she sent us a like on the podcast. Always embracing her support here on the Prime. But yeah, let's get right into it. Let's talk about Detroit. Let's talk about their storylines first. We got to put this sort of pressure though. Is this the year? Not just a year, the freaking year. We're talking about Jared Goff, potential MVP candidate, Dan Campbell, potential Coach of the Year candidate, and when it's all said and done, Detroit Lions and their fan base hoisting the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Is this the year, or could it be the year?
It could be. I'm not gonna. Their saving grace is the NFC is a lot easier than the AFC. They really only have to worry about, I guess, I want to say two teams, like San Fran being one, and pick your poison at the other one, whether it's Philly, whether it's Dallas, whether it's like Tampa.
I'm Detroit, I'm not worried about Tampa Bay. I'm not worried about anybody in the until I see Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons on the football field. I'm not worried about the Falcons. I think their biggest threat almost comes in from their own division, the growth and development of the Green Bay Packers. I think they're going to be someone they're going to have to reckon with this season. This very well could be the season where the Detroit Lions, we're talking about them as the Super Bowl champions at the end of the year. This could be the season where we're talking about Jared Goff having like a 4,700 yards passing. He could be the MVP of the league. Dan Campbell could be the best coach in the league, like Coach of the Year. If he tames back some of the BS he did towards the end of the season, I know he's popular for that kind of stuff, the biting kneecap stuff that was a big punchline, a few years ago. It doesn't look like that now. Yeah, this could be the year for the Detroit Lions. I think in the NFC, I think you got like Philadelphia or Dallas, and I think you're talking about San Fran. None of the other teams in the NFL outside of the Packers, who you're going to have to get through anyways. But if you can get through your own division and you can get through San Fran, you can go to the Super Bowl. This could be the year.
Yeah, that's exactly why it's not because Dan Campbell isn't going to dial back on the goofy shit. Because he's Dan Campbell. It's gotten him this far, right? So yeah, he's not gonna stop. He's not gonna stop that.
No, I don't think so either. But it's proven to have worked. But it did bite him in the ass in the NFC Championship game. It bit him in the ass in that game they lost against the Detroit or the Dallas Cowboys, even though the officials were wrong, but it did come back to bite him. This is going to be an interesting season for the Detroit Lions. I think that this is one of those seasons where we're talking about Detroit. The hype is as big as it's ever been for the Detroit Lion fans. I live here in Fort Wayne. I work with a lot of Lions fans. They talk about the Lions a lot in my office. It's just the hype is just so real for the Detroit Lions after what they did last season, how close they came to being in the Super Bowl. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they not only represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, but hoist the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the game.
Yeah. Again, I'm not getting on the hype train. Why? Any team can have one good season, do it again. Like this notion of Detroit's going to be a Super Bowl contender. Okay, let's see what you do with a first place schedule. Let's see when you face all the best across the league. Let's see what happens, because you played Baltimore and you lost. You played San Fran.
Yeah.
You played San Fran. I don't care what you did or what the circumstances was. You still lost. You lost. And like the only top team you beat was who? Kansas City.
Yeah, and Mike Tirico loves to talk about the asterisks, but you can't talk about that game without talking about the fact that Chris Jones was in the stadium, but in uniform. He was in the whatever they like in the feet in whatever they call it,
Yeah, he
like in
was
the
in,
stands.
he
And
was in the
Travis Kelce was
stands. He
hurt.
wasn't playing. But
Travis Kelce
Kelsey
didn't
went.
play in that game.
So
But yeah, I mean, they went from playing a third place schedule last season to what is going to be a first place schedule this season.
Yeah, it's gonna get hard, and y'all gonna see why certain teams are great and versus why it's y'all gonna see why it's hard. Like, do they have confidence in themselves to do it? Yeah, they supposed to be walking around with a big head.
Yeah,
they supposed to, but at the same time, you also got to remember, big heads get flat, they get deflated. And
yep.
if y'all come up anything short of what y'all did last year, you're gonna be laughing stocks again. I don't want to hear about. We were one quarter away from the NFC from the Super Bowl. So what? No one cares.
Yeah, means nothing. They
Means
don't
nothing.
give prizes to the runner up. One of the things that could hold this team back is the secondary. At least last season, the secondary gave up the seventh most yards in the air. Did they do enough this offseason to shore up what was a putrid secondary last year? They brought in some free agency. They made some draft. They brought in Carlton Davis from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They drafted was it Inez Rackshaw, Terrion Arnold. Unfortunately, Emmanuel Mosley cannot catch a break. They brought him 2 years ago to be the starting corner there. He's now on IR again, I do believe. So, I mean, did they do enough to shore up this secondary? I mean, they had Brian Branch was a fantastic player, though. He got hurt a couple times during the season. Eventually, I think he got shut down. Is this secondary good enough to complement what's a really good front seven?
We'll see. And obviously, like you're asking a lot because Eric Mosley, yeah, he's done. Like third straight season with with a season-ending injury, and mentally, I just hope he's okay because that's tough.
It's tough. It's tough. Goes back to his time in San Francisco. So,
it's like that too. It's like, can they overcome that? No, because eventually it comes back to bite you in the ass, bro. Like at some point in time, your weaknesses will show.
Yeah.
Like no matter how you try to hide them, sugarcoat it, your weaknesses will show, and there's nothing you can do about it. So if you got a weak secondary, it ain't like they can be like, all right, well we gonna try to disguise this. Like, no, you have a weak secondary. It is what it is. Like any team with a halfway.
They're going to be asking a ton from these rookies that they drafted in the first round to come in and be productive immediately. Like, it's not like there's going to be time for them to grow into the NFL. Like, they're going to have to be good right away. Amir Robinson right now is their nickelback. He's been bounced around the NFL. I mean, those two guys. I mean, Inez Rakestraw Jr. and Terrion Arnold. They're going to have to play this season, and they're going to have to be like productive. Because let's not forget, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, they're going to be playing a first place schedule this season. Like, it's not going to be this third place schedule. You're going to get everyone's best. Like, the Lions are not sneaking up on anybody this season. They're going to be a team that's like, hey, this is Detroit. We can't play around with them.
And that's what you really hoping for. You're just hoping that last season wasn't a fluke.
Yeah.
I said any team can have one good year. Any player can have one good year. You want to know what made the Patriots so hated? They won 12 games for 20 years in a row.
Yeah. Like, people hate it when you win forever.
So like this notion of Lions fans talking with their chest out, okay, I understand. Long time coming. Like you said, most of y'all all y'all know about the Lions is them losing, ruining Hall of Fame talent. You made two dudes retire in their primes. Two all-time greats in their position retired in their prime. Matthew Stafford was gone 1 year and won the Super Bowl. Like that's saying something.
Let's swing back over to the other side of the football now. Let's talk about Jameson Williams. His rookie season was kind of a wash, given coming off that ACL tear. But his second season, many people thought it would be the breakout season. It just really never happened for him last season. 24 catches for 354 yards and 2 touchdowns. But now that they've lost some wide receivers on this team, like he's going to be expected to be wide receiver too. Like, are we expecting Jameson Williams to have this breakout season? And like, how realistic is that to expect out of him this season?
I'm not sure. Like I'm really not sure. Is he wide receiver number 2? Like,
he probably will be. Everybody gets real excited about that play that he took to the house in that playoff game, that 42-yard rushing touchdown. He also had a receiving touchdown in the playoffs as well. But like he's going to be wide receiver too. What's his name is gone. His name is totally escaping me. Josh Reynolds. Yeah, Josh Reynolds is no longer on this team. So like they're going to need somebody to step up in that placement guy. And Jameson Williams was drafted in the first round. The Lions traded up, gave up draft capital to get him. Like he's going to have to be that guy that fills that role for this team.
Yeah.
You don't draft a guy in the top. In the top 15 in the draft, and you expect him to have more than 400 yards receiving in his first 2 seasons in the league. Obviously, his first season he only played 1 game or 6 games or something. Only had the 1 catch.
Yeah, that's a tough ass. I think they still need to temper their expectations from him. Ain't no telling where he's at physically.
Yeah. Well, it's like you talk about all the time. Like you spend, one off season rehabbing from an injury, and then you spend the next off season, working on your craft. So in theory, he's had this off season to work on his craft. And I think this could be the season where they see him break out. Like I see him having like a 1,000 yards receiving, or even 800 would be better than what we've seen out of him so far in his career. Maybe he gets close to double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah, because they on right now. I wish I could watch them, but
I don't have a way to watch it either. Like, why wouldn't they put this game on national television? You know what else is some BS, right? You know what else is some BS? None of the games this weekend are on regular TV. You have to have NFL Plus if you want to watch any of the preseason games.
Yes.
Like that's they better not do stuff like this in the regular season. Like I don't have cable. Like I don't have a way to watch things if they're not on regular TV. Like that's frustrating. Anyways, yeah, I think Jameson Williams has a real opportunity to break out here. I think this could be the season where we look back and be like, yeah, year 3 was the season where he kind of put himself on the map as one of these really fast, twitchy wide receivers who can break one at any moment. From there, let's talk about their draft. They drafted some major needs in their first 2 picks. Obviously, they took a corner in Terrion Arnold. They took another corner, the corner out of Missouri. They took a safety out of Utah, which is a very stingy defense last season. Giovanni Matu is the University of British Columbia as a tackle. Probably won't see the field much this season in a perfect world. They took a guard, Christian Mahogany, out of Boston College. They took a defensive line, Miko Wingo, out of LSU. They had 2 major needs. They had cornerback, which is their major need for this draft. They came in and addressed it with back-to-back picks. This is how you have needs, and you have these needs. This is how you addressed it, for sure. Terrion Arnold has all the prototypical size you want in a corner. He's got blazing speed, so.
Eric Rekshaw and Von Weaver. So
you can make the argument he may have been a steal where they got him. He had a first-round grade from a lot of those quote-unquote experts who do analysis on drafts. They're like, yeah, this guy's a first-round pick. He ends up falling to the back end of the second round. He ends up becoming, a member of the Detroit Lions.
And with what's his name, with Mosley's injury, now it's even more evident. Hey man, we're going to be a young secondary.
Yeah, I mean, the Detroit last season allowed 28 passing touchdowns last year. That's 6th worst in the league. It's the 5th straight season in a row where they've ranked in the bottom 10 of touchdowns allowed. So yeah, I mean, this is how if you have needs, this is how you address them. The kid from British Columbia, I honestly don't know a lot about him, but he is a mammoth human being. 6'7", 352 pounds. He ran a 5.06 in the 40, which is just really fast for a man that size. Like,
Yeah, that was like,
sorry. And so Rocky actually is a running back out of Utah. I don't know why it has safety on. Oh, he played running back and safety at Utah, but he's probably going to play safety in the NFL. Yeah, he played. Man, that almost never happens in the NFL. He rushed for 317 rushing yards, and when he was thrown at while he was the safety, quarterbacks only had a 4.8 quarterback rating. So I'll be interested to see how they use him in Detroit. A guy who has this kind of versatility. They traded up to get him.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Izzy? How you doing, brother? Wingo, the defensive tackle at LSU, 4.85 in the 40-yard dash. He had 8.5 sacks during his tenure there at LSU with 98 total tackles. And in Boston College, the final guy. So he only allowed a 0.03 pressure rate and did not allow a sack during his first season as a pro in college in 2021. He also did not allow a sack in 2023. So the guy has been great at guard and could be the Vitae replacement at some point, as he's still technically unsigned. Izzy, what's up, man? What's the good word?
What's going on? Good word is I'm trying to tell my 9-year-old in the background to keep the noise down so I can say something or I can hear something. Good Jesus. Anyways, good word. Damn, I missed the first part of the show. It's all good. But yeah, when it comes to Detroit Lions draft, I love their first 2 picks. Terrion Arnold, Enos Rackerstraw. Enos Rackerstraw is a big corner. Terrion Arnold's another big corner. Probably the best cover corner in college football. I don't know what the noise was about him falling out of the first round or him falling to the late first round. I'm glad he didn't. He went to the perfect team in Detroit. And it was and I think it just bolsters their depth of a defense that was is improving. It was okay. Okay defense. I would say it was the best defense.
Their passing, their run defense was fantastic last season.
Was fantastic,
Their through the air defense left much to be desired.
Much to be desired. I like that you brought up the kid Mekhi Wingo. He should be a nice little, late round pick. Hopefully he can get some playing time and he makes the team. And that kid out of BC, out of Canada, is a monstrous human being.
Yeah. Not only is he monstrous, but the guy can move. Like he's 6'7", 352 pounds. He ran a 5.6 in the 40. Like I weighed myself today. I'm down to 214, right? I couldn't run a 5.6 in the 40.
I mean, yeah. So, and he's a massive human being running a 5.6 40. Shit. I mean, godly. I was 5'11", 6 foot, in high school running, close to a little under that, but I was like a lot smaller, and that's crazy that he's running 5.6 40. I think my 40 time was about 5.1 flat, which is slow for what I was trying to go for. But anyways, this guy he's like we saw it with Malaga. If I'm pronouncing that right. Is it Jordan Malaga from the Philadelphia
Mailata?
That's Malaga. Yeah, we saw it with him, right? He was a rugby player, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, New Zealand.
New Zealand, and he transferred really well over to the tackle position. There's another guy in the draft that's kind of similar.
We talked about him a few days ago. I
forget what team he was on, but he was another guy that didn't play football, but had all the intangibles as well.
He played rugby too. He was coming over from the United Kingdom, I think, or something. That dude's name is escaping me right now. I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember his name. I think he may have been Mr. Irrelevant.
No, I'm not sure, but I like that some of these NFL teams, they look at some of these big body guys and they're fascinated. Like, well, okay, if I could get this guy and I could mold him into a left tackle, he has all the intangibles. He can run like a deer, and he's big like a freaking tree trunk. His legs are like tree trunks, and I can mold him into some sort of football player that can be on our team. Whether that's a special teams guy, if he's 6'7", he just barrel through the middle and put his hand up and block kicks. Whatever we can use him for. I like the fact that NFL scouts are doing that in this day and age, because guys like that back in the day wouldn't even get looked at. Back in the 60s and 70s, whatever the case is. So.
Was it Travis Clayton, the kid that ended up going to the? I don't know. It doesn't matter right now. But yeah, I like what the Lions had two major needs at corner. I like what the Lions did with their draft. I think the rest of it is just kind of depth for their eventual playoff push, or if the Packers have anything to say about not playoff push. This is probably like a B+ draft for me.
No, B+, especially for the first two picks. Enos Rackershaw is a big ass corner. You could damn near put him at safety. And Terrion Honor to the best cover corner in coming out of college football. So,
TJ, grade for you.
No disagreement with what y'all said. B+, 1.
Moving on to the free agent roster shakeup. First, we're going to talk about their additions. So they brought in Carlton Davis. I kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier. Marcus Davenport comes over from the Minnesota Vikings. Kevin Zeitler comes over to be one of their starting guards from the Baltimore Ravens. And then my guy, Jake Bates, comes over from the UFL, is going to be probably the starting kicker for the Detroit Lions. Their key departure, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think I spelled that wrong. Josh Reynolds, Vaitai is not signed by a team. Man, that first name was it Holly Pololi Vaitai? I'm not going to try again.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to butcher it up. Holly Poli Vaitai. I think I got that right, though, low-key. Yeah.
And then I put an asterisk next to Cameron Sutton. I don't really want to talk about his situation too much, but he is no longer on this team as well. But he was the starting corner on this team. They brought him in free agency last year. It just really didn't work out. But, I mean, I got to fix that spelling of that C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's really going to piss me off. Just hold on a second. Yeah, but like C.J. Gardner-Johnson was like, outside when he wasn't hurt, he was a good leader in this locker room. What do you guys think about the roster shakeup and the way it worked out for Detroit?
I think Gardner Johnson going back to Philly is kind of funny.
Yeah, going back to the Eagles.
Oh God!
Because when he was on Philly, he ran his mouth to everybody, and now he goes to Detroit, runs his mouth. He doesn't quite go the same way he did in Philly, but now he goes back to Philly. It's kind of funny.
But I think so. Back to their first three guys that they added. I only put Jake Bates on there for the memes. I just thought me and TJ could get a kick out of it. But I mean, Carlton Davis is going to be cornerback 1, and he's going to be the mentor to these young corners that they have on their roster. He's been around the league. He's a Super Bowl champion. Marcus Davenport is a good rotation edge at this point in his career. He was a first-round pick of the New Orleans Saints a few years ago. Never really worked out. He was better last season in Minnesota. He had Danielle Hunter, so he was getting single coverages all the times. And then Kevin Zeitler at one time was one of the premier guards in the NFL. He just kind of moves right into the starting lineup, just kind of because you thought they were going to lose a step there with this offensive line, kind of losing some players, right? But Kevin Zeitler is as good as a guard as you can bring in when it comes to free agency.
Man, I think this offensive line hasn't lost a beat. Even adding Kevin Zeitler. I mean, this offensive line is probably the best offensive line in football, in my opinion.
I mean, it's got to be for sure in the conversation. I mean, Taylor Decker, Graham Glasgow, Frank Ragnow, Kevin Zeitler, and then Penei Sewell. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that.
Any better than that? Yeah, across the board, so.
They legit don't have a weakness on the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, Detroit did an A1. They were great in the draft. They were great in free agency. They plugged every single weakness that they could have. And I think they looked at it and they said, look, man, hey, we were literally like right there from getting to the Super Bowl. And what can we do to take us to the next level? And that's improve our, we can't get in these track meets. We have to stop the elite wide receivers, especially that are on San Francisco, that are coming out the NFC. I mean, we got the Dallas Cowboys coming, but also on the AFC side. And then also we need some depth at in the pass rush, where, I mean, we're already excellent at, right? We already got Aiden Hutchinson there,
James Houston, and
James
Levi
Houston.
Alonzo-Rinke.
Yeah, so I mean, we got guys that are already young bulls that are getting after the quarterback. So we're adding more depth. We're adding guys that can get after the quarterback. So, and then we plug and place a veteran in Kevin Zeitler on an already good offensive line. So I think the Detroit Lions had an excellent offseason again. I think it was like 2 years in a row that they've had some great offseason, and I think this is they're the cream of the crop. I think when you look at the cream of the crop of the NFC, the Detroit Lions, for once in my lifetime, and in your lifetime, and in TJ's lifetime, all of our lifetime.
Maybe not combine all of our lifetimes together as like a trio, like back to back to back, but like at least 2 of our lifetimes. Like,
yeah, we can say that the Detroit Lions are the cream of the crop, or are part of the cream of the crop of the NFC, and for that matter, the NFL, for that matter, how they're built. And yeah,
I mean, they also have the fact that they had such a strong draft class last year. Those guys are going to get better. The linebacker, Brian Branch, I mean, Javier Gibbs, they're all 3 of those guys are expected to take step forward.
Yeah, you got Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell out of
I agree with you. They also brought in DJ Reader on not a team friendly contract as well, from the Cincinnati Bengals to kind of shore out that interior. Like, I think the Lions, when it comes to free agency, we're talking about their draft and their free agents, I think they did a bang up job. Like, I think that this is as good a job as you could do when it comes to free agency on a team with expectations, and this is how you rise to that.
And literally, these young guys, and this is gonna first Dan Campbell makes Detroit a free agent destination, because who wouldn't want to run through a wall for that guy, right? You're in one practice with Dan Campbell, and I think you're hooked. I think the stuff that I see, like the way he is so intense, the way he loves football, the way he vouches for his guys, the way he'll run through a wall for you if you run for, he'll run through a wall for any of his guys, right? And the intensity, the passion makes guys want to come there, makes guys want to play for him hard to the end. And so you culminate all of that up, and I think this is going to be a very successful season for the Detroit Lions.
TJ.
Dan Campbell makes Detroit a free agent destination.
I don't think he's wrong.
There's some truth to that, TJ. There's some truth to that.
I mean,
truth to that, because Detroit isn't a free, like the city itself isn't, obviously. And that's no disrespect to anybody that lives in Detroit. I think I've heard it's getting better, but Dan Campbell alone as the coach himself, I think, yes, is he aggressive? And one thing I will say, yes, he's aggressive, but players like to be aggressive. Like, hey, at least this guy ain't conservative. 4th and 3, he's going for it, right? Sometimes that works, sometimes it don't work. You know what I mean?
There's a time and place. There's a time and place when to do that 4th and 3 and go for it. You don't go for it when it's 4th and 3 and you up 21.
Well, that's true, and
true.
We all know about the debacle in Dallas, right? We all know about.
We talked about that a little bit. At the
we talked about that. Okay, we talked about that.
You talked about it. You talked about it, David.
But this guy, look at me. This guy is becoming one of the premier head coaches. He's literally risen the Detroit Lions from the depths of hell and above ground. I mean, this guy has I mean, Detroit was a laughing stock, and now Detroit's, a Super Bowl contender by what? What is this, year 5 for him? Year 4?
I think
Year
he's
5?
only been there for 3. I think this is his fourth season, like full
Fourth
season.
Year
Yeah,
4.
so.
This guy's got guys running through.
I think it's only maybe season 3, actually, now that I think about it, for real. From there, let's talk about the schedule. Let's do ceiling. Let's do floor. Let's start with the positive side of this. Let's do the ceiling for the Detroit Lions. I'll let TJ let you go first. What do you think the ceiling is for this squad and this schedule? Oof.
13-4.
13-4. Just looking at their quick style, look at the schedule. So I think we got, I think the 13-4 kind of makes sense to me. I think the games that they're going to probably lose, they're going to go to Dallas. I think they lose that game. I think they go to Green Bay and lose. I think they go to San Fran and lose. And I think Buffalo beats them. I think 13-4 is realistic. I think when you talk about ceiling, that's the ceiling, like 13-4. Could they? Yeah, you know what? They could beat Buffalo. I'll go 14-3.
You know what's crazy about like home games in Detroit? It's like the weather doesn't play a factor. Obviously, I mean, this is like the home field advantage is like, oh, we're playing indoors.
They
The
don't
weather's
have one.
controlled. They don't really have one when it comes down to it. It's all about comfortability in the crowd.
Their fans travel.
So
Well,
does
I was talking about their home games.
He's talking about their home games.
Yeah.
So does every team. So does every team they play.
I was talking about the home game. So when you say, so I was agreeing with you, David. When you say Buffalo beats them at home, because I was thinking about it, I'm like, well, shit, that's a late year game. Oh, if Detroit was playing outdoors, I mean, it may not matter because Buffalo plays outdoors anyways. But it's just like they don't have like a real home field advantage other than the fans, because they play indoors. But this team is so like good offensively.
And
I mean,
even then, how many times have we seen Ford Field damn near 50-50 with the other team's fans in there?
I just don't think it's going to be like that this season. I
don't think it'll be. I think it'll be a little bit better this season.
I went to SoFi Stadium, and I know what the Chargers fan base is. That stadium was dominated by Lions fans. Like, it was literally like 60-40.
That's not making your point, because you literally just said what the Charger fan base is.
I know, but like Lions fans are like all in right now. Like,
but
it's a Rams town.
That's a terrible example, bro. Like when they play,
I'm just saying from an example of what I experienced in my life,
and it's a bad one. It's a bad example. Yes, it's not a good. When they play Green Bay, when they play Chicago and Detroit, guarantee you that shit's up damn near 50-50. Why? Because
it will not be like that this season.
Yes, it will.
It won't be 50-50. There'll be a lot of Packer fans travel. You don't think Packer fans are going to be in Detroit?
Detroit is about
fans are going to be in Detroit.
That's all I'm saying, bro.
Detroit Lions are showing out. And I got 14-3 as the ceiling for the Detroit Lions. I think there's 3 games.
I hear you. I got the same thing. I got the same thing. I think 14-3. I think I said that the other day.
But if you think you're swinging to the floor, I think the floor could be a lot less nice. Okay, I don't know what else. Like, I think there are games on this schedule that they could necessarily lose and not be.
I think the floor is 11 wins.
10.
I think the floor, they could lose to the Rams. I don't see it, but they could go to Dallas. They could split with Chicago. They could lose to Houston. They could lose to split with Green Bay. They could lose to Buffalo and San Fran. So what is that math? So
I think Minnesota's getting swept by the division. And then Detroit, Chicago, Green Bay, I think they could split with each other. I think they're all going to split with each other, which is going to be a crazy conundrum.
And then if they lose to Houston, if they lose to Dallas,
they can lose to Tampa.
I guess yes, they could lose in Tampa Bay, and then they could lose to
Is
Buffalo.
It in Tampa? Yeah. Oh, it's at home too. By the way, where they're comfortable.
They can still lose to Tampa.
I don't think they're going to lose that game at home. But yeah, hold on.
We literally just talked about the issues with their secondary, and you're gonna trust a whole secondary to try and slow down
Mike
Evans and Chris Godwin.
I don't think Chris Godwin's still on that team, right? Is Chris Godwin? I think he might be gone.
Like we literally just talked about the issues in their secondary, and all of a sudden,
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, anyways, Dallas, or the Cowboys, Green Bay, Houston, Bears.
Yeah, it's Mike
Bills,
Evans, Chris
San
Godwin,
Fran.
Jalen McMillan.
I got them at 11-6 is the floor.
I think they're
a wild card team at the absolute worst.
10-11 ball club is their floor. I think 14 wins is their ceiling. I'm not going 15 wins. That's just putting them.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's just crazy. That's just too much. Because I think the games that you mentioned, like they still got to go to San Francisco at the end of the year. I think they got that one definitely circled on their calendar. Because they lost to them in the NFC Championship game, and also they might see them in the playoffs coming up. If they are a playoff team at that point, so they're gonna want. Yeah.
And not to put this kind of pressure on either of these two teams. I mean, when we're talking about that Houston Lions game, we're talking about that could be a Super Bowl preview.
I'm not putting them expectations on CJ Stroud just yet. I'm not putting Super Bowl expectations on CJ Stroud.
Why
I'm
not?
not doing
Why
that.
not?
I didn't do that earlier.
They were the champion of the offseason. Come on. That's what championships are crowned.
Champions, they were the champion. Who said that they were champions in the offseason? If anything, that goes to your Chicago Bears.
No, the Houston Texans. What the Houston Texans did this offseason was
absolutely. But when it comes to walking and talking it, but anyways, well, hey, don't get me started down this rabbit hole. I don't want to think. I wasn't able to be on the Bears podcast. Okay,
you were on the Bears for a little while before you had children everywhere.
Split second, yeah. Until I got children everywhere. So yeah, it's only for a split second. But I think when we talk about games that are up in the air that they can win or lose, I think that what you want to say. The Rams coming into town. Stafford's going to play with high intensity. That's a good matchup. That's a game that Detroit should win, but I could see the Rams winning. Dallas, that's a kind of a push matchup in my opinion. Dallas should be favored by 1.5, 2.5 points or something like that. I don't know the line. I'm just predicting the line, but that's a game that they could probably, win, but they're probably going to be favored to lose. Houston, Buffalo, and San Francisco. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 matchups that can go either way for Detroit. This on this schedule. So if they could split all three, split 3, 4, or 5 of those games down the middle, then I think we're on par for 13, 14 wins this season. If they drop, go 1-4 in those really tough games. Outside the games that we think they're going to split with Green Bay in the division, then, I think that we're looking at 10, 11 wins there. Yeah, it all depends on those very tough games that they have. They have 5, 6 tough games outside of the conference. TJ's right. Tampa Bay is gonna. We saw what they did early on in the season. I think Baker had a little bit more to prove, but I think Baker getting paid this season. I think he's got his mojo back in Tampa. I think those first 2 games we can't just chop them up as wins. We gotta just because they're at home. We gotta see how Detroit responds to 2 teams that are gonna come in there and they're gonna punch them right in the mouth from the get go.
Pressure.
So
we'll see.
And there's new pressure. Like again, anybody can have one good season, and then when the expectations hit them, like, oh damn, I went to the NFC Championship last year. Guess what? I have to at least do that again while playing a harder schedule. Izzy, you weren't on here. You weren't on here yet, but I said, like, you want to know why people hated the Patriots for 20 years? Because they won 10 to 12 games straight for 20 years, and they were at bare minimum. They was in the division game. Like,
yeah. So Detroit Lions, they have some work cut off for them, but it should be a very fun season if you are a Detroit Lions fan. And it's also very appropriate that we did Detroit Lions episode on today in particular, because it's International Cat Day. And my cat is right here. You want to be on TV, Cat? Here, come here.
She's
Here we
not
go.
heavy.
You want
There
me
we go. Here we
to
go. There we go.
What's up, Chase on the? Oh, my bad, not Chase. Pace. What up, Pace?
But, it's International Cat Day,
going on,
TJ.
Pace?
Where's your excitement?
Hey,
but anyways,
before we sign off though, and I always do some non-basketball related. Not basketball. I was gonna mention basketball. Hey, shout out to Team USA on that comeback. I was talking to TJ. Me and TJ, I was talking to TJ because I don't have Messenger right now on my phone. I'm talking to TJ on Instagram. I'm like, yo, these dudes, they can't come back to America if they lose this game to Serbia. They got to stay in Paris for a little while, but my boys got it done.
Which I don't understand that not because it's not just you saying it. It's like, yo, Serbia is ranked like 4th in the world. Like, it's not
Serbia's
like,
good as shit,
they
man.
good,
Bogdanovich was out here, boy. They got Mitic, who was a 3-time EuroLeague MVP. But anyways, I'm sorry to wave her off. I just want to give a shout out to our boys for getting into the gold medal match. And as much as a Victor Wembanyama fan as I am, I'm still an American. Team USA they better win by not a dub, but they better win by double digits
a dub
in the gold medal game.
But thank you very much for joining us here at the Detroit Lions season preview and on International Cat Day. So thank you very much. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I'm David Huffman, Israel Rivera, TJ Hopkins. Gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We bring the heat, baby. And shout out
Yes,
to Pace on International Cat Day. You should have got her kibbles and bits, or what is it? Is that dog food?
My cat. I don't feed my cat kibbles and bits. That's some trash food. Anyways,
David be cutting up too. He be going fishing.
I go to the grocery store and I get some raw chicken and I cook it up for her and I chop it up every day. No, I'm kidding. Of course not. I don't do that.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that, but hey, Pace is eating good. He's good, better than me tonight.
This guy is eating better than I am.
Sour cream. You better put some little chives on there and some extra sour cream on there, baby.
Man, get out of here. We'll be back here next week. Y'all have a good weekend. Take peace out, gentlemen.